Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in another room, which is symbolic for what we try to do, to close, to come to an end, to look at the learning outcomes of the last 7 weeks, and to repeat, where necessary, aspects of the last week or the week before, answer your questions on all the weeks and on the exam. I am pleased to have managed to upload one of the videos that took me half an hour in uploading on YouTube, and the link is on Blackboard, and I received 2 emails that it works. So what I will do today and tomorrow and the day after is subsequently in reverse order upload the videos, including this one. So that is the plan of today. Are there any other concerns you would like to have addressed? Okay. And how can we in this community deal with it? All right. The intended learning outcomes have a layered structure. So the layers start with the lower thinking capacities in terms of remembering, recognizing words, and that. The subsequent level are the slightly higher order thinking capacities, as in applying that knowledge to a case. And I will test the sort of remembering part and the recognizing part in multiple choice questions, where I mix the words, regulator, regulatory, authority, state. I mix that up, and you have to sort of, based on your memory and your notes, try to locate, let's say, the correct answer. And then I would like you to write some essays and apply the knowledge, and we will come to that. The list of topics and corresponding sort of items is sort of complete on this slide. And today I would like to go through them all once more, and then connect to that recap the outlook. The course description said, well, we look at the future, and let's do that more specifically, but not too extensively, so that there's not too much new material today. So that today is a synthesis and not a completely new topic. So don't worry about that part. The story unfolds along the drawing, and what I expect to see in the pocket terminal are prints of this drawing with all kinds of notes and keywords and the like, on top of the rest of the material you collected. And because my hope is that especially those students who learn with graphic images in their head, other learning styles that work with words, but the majority works with pictures. And due to the design of the brain, you cannot help, that is how it is designed, that this drawing helps to keep track on what is what. And the starting point is the market failure. And in the course of the lectures, the seminars, the sessions, we simplified that phenomena by stating that poop is in bottled water. Potentially. Why? Because if you are making bottled water, you just put a tube in the ground, and then you allow the mineral water to build up and end up in your bottle. So goods and services are made in nature, but also animals poop in nature. And that is due to gravity, that the bacteria in poop drill down ultimately to the layers where potentially water is, or on the hands of the employees or other interfaces, and that results in goods that are not proper in terms of quality and in price ultimately, and in the way how it is marketed. The reason that this is a concern is not that all of a sudden goods and services are much more dangerous than in the Middle Ages, but the connection between the producer and the consumer is disconnected. So we are not aware of the identity and the person and the, let's say, mechanisms, technical mechanisms, how our products and services are made. And that means that we as a consumer cannot do the quality check ourselves. We are unable in the modern society to understand how a particular bottle of water is made, so that based on our gut feeling we can assess how likely is it that there's poop in your bottled water. And because of that lack of the interface, we created a potentially a monstrum of phenomena and concepts and legal rules and officers and the like, just in an attempt to try to repair it. I'm not pleading that this is wrong. I'm not saying that the Middle Ages were better than the current day. I must say, this time is the best time mankind ever experienced. We have so much opportunity, we have so much knowledge about many things, we have so much life expectancies and so on. And so I'm not pleading anything against poop in bottled water. I'm just describing to you how society made an arrangement to deal with that in a least cumbersome way, and avoiding that every bottle of water is 10 euros because of all the inspection costs. Because that would then defeat the purpose. Well, that market failure we try to describe in the context of a commercial market. So goods and services and consumers. That is 500 million EU citizens consumers that are in a sort of legal framework that's very relevant for us and you, because that's sort of the environment we live in, where you have this sort of play between member states and the European Union, outside factors too. And that is sort of the setting of the course and of your future employment. So either somewhere on behalf of consumers or businesses or states, you will find one way or the other work. And then one way or the other, market failure could be on your agenda. The second step is the main choice in the arrangement. And there we dwell on potentially old-fashioned concepts, as in public versus non-public. And there are scholars who say that is old-fashioned. There's no such thing as public and private. But for the purpose of, let's say, simplicity, for the purpose of to understand how, for instance, legal professionals think, it is still too early to abolish the distinction public-private. And then, private solution is don't buy improper goods and services. So, arrange your market in such a way that through the invisible hand, the Adam Smith theory of the capitalist market, offer and acceptance, freedom of choice. The consumers know all about poop in the bottled water, products and consequently do not buy them. And that force of the consumer forces or convinces the producer to check the bottles themselves until the consumers have trust again and start buying it again. And that is the invisible hand and the dream of the economist, how a market should flourish. And even there scholars say that that is not true. There is no such a thing as an invisible hand. But 7 billion people on the globe think that there is an invisible hand. So who are those minority scholars who say the world is completely different? And so even here, we embrace such a concept, say, okay, for simplicity's sake, we continue to believe that there is such a thing. Why? Because it's probably not untrue, because we have personal experience of that mechanism. We are consumers ourselves. We are in supermarkets and we say this one or that one. We are consumers of gasoline. We read the paper about Greenpeace. We know about Shell in Nigeria. And sometimes we say, well, let's not be a customer of this firm. Let's go to the other one. So we make these choices, so it's probably not untrue. If it is not true, say. Why is that a problem? Yes?
So you would say that if you would relate it to private or public choice, that would be, or is that just to show the consumer's position in?
Yeah. So this is just a factual observation how market failure can be avoided. Because the theory is that when consumers do not purchase goods and services, they are not produced anymore. And then they cannot fail. If you do not produce bottled water, there cannot be poop in your bottled water. So that's sort of the thing. And then, for 2 or 3 reasons, that is not good enough. One, consumers do not have any idea how they are traded. Because producers do not tell the consumers, hey, there's poop in my product. And they do not allow journalists to see how it on the internet, and you share them on Facebook yourself probably. There are millions of little video clips on how animals are treated in producing meat, how energy is produced with environmental pollution, how your Nike shoes are produced with child labor, and so forth and so on. Second reason, well, I sort of contradict myself. In general, people do not know, but a selected group of society, you, with thinking skills above average, you know. But you're in a minority, so it's difficult for you to change. So the majority of the consumers have no clue and do not want to have a clue. 2, if the product is failing and you die, then it's sort of a pity, because then it's too late to do anything. Then your heirs can sort of try to get compensation, and then you're dead. And so that's sort of awkward. And thirdly, if you're not dead, then it's quite a thing to correct the market failure as an individual consumer. So, what are your chances vis-a-vis Nike, Spa, Shell, your butcher, bakery, Albert Heijn, Unilever, Calvé, Nestle, you know, the pharmaceuticals? 2 reasons why that is difficult. They are big, you are small, so they can hire all the lawyers to crunch you, and you're not able to do so. It takes a long time because dispute settlement in courts is sort of a slow process. And it's not so easy to prove your point. How on earth are you able to prove that the medicine was sort of poison? Do you have a laboratory to do the test again? It took them 10 years to put the pill on the market. So how on earth are you able to prove this is a very wrong pill? They say, well, people die. Look at the cemetery, people die. It's not our pill. You claim it's my pill, prove it. And they lean back and relax. And so those are the disadvantages of the private choice. And it sounds like a rational mechanism, but those consumers are also voters. So when they're unhappy, they write an email to their politicians. There's something wrong with. And then as a politician, you want to be re-elected, so then you move to the public choice. Or you took a course like yours, and you think, let's change the world. And with intrinsic motivation, you want to change these market failures. Among other things, you want to change. All right. Then a completely new ball game starts, if you are in the realm of the public choice. And that ball game is also known as administrative law. One of the tough ones is legitimacy. Whatever arrangement, whatever step you want to do, it should be based on a legal rule. And to make a legal rule, you need the parliament. And there you need a majority to vote in favor. And then you are getting aware of how decision-making processes are, then you have million stakeholders. The members of parliament, they don't know anything about bottled water. So they call their experts. And all the experts are ultimately lobbyists. So the consumers say, the government should pay for a check of every bottle. And the producers say, don't bother. This is just a little accident. They are fine. It's just mineral water. So there you have the influence. And secondly, no arrangement should hamper fundamental rights of also producers. And so we embrace a fundamental right of ownership. And in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, every human being is allowed to be active as an entrepreneur. So basically, we agreed that there should not be a state that wants to row and steer. If an entrepreneur wants to make bottled water, then basically, within boundaries, that should be allowed to happen. And only if, let's say, public health is endangered and other public goods, and you could say, maybe it's not a good idea that you start a nuclear plant, because that's quite complex. And then you can make more strict rules for it. So, principles and administrative law. And then secondly, when you move to the intervention stricto sensu later on in the story, as an executive branch representative of the state, of the government, or in American language, the administration, and you have to adhere, you have to play according to administrative law rules of the play. Transparent, proportionate, without misuse of your power, that you have consultation, so that you have to invite the producer of the bottle. Dear sir, let's have a little chat about your bottles of water, because maybe we as a state have concerns about the quality. What do you think yourself? And these are all things that, based on administrative law, legal principle, you're obliged to do. So you have to fight with your hand on your back, if you wish, if you want to put it negatively, where the economic actors, so the companies, the enterprises, they may fight with both hands and apply all kinds of tricks and so forth. That's the world where we live in, from an administrative legal perspective. Very intriguing. Well, you do something wrong, then you have to go to the judge, which is basically a colleague of yours from a state perspective, but it's an independent, non-biased person. So you cannot call him like, hey colleague, we share the same pension fund, so please rule in my favor. No. As an executive officer, then you have to accept the judgment of the judge, who potentially says, this was not proportionate, allow this firm to continue make bottles of water, because a little bit of poop is not such a big deal. The judge could say. And then your whole year of gathering information about the question whether there's poop in the bottled water and forming legal opinion and proportionate intervene is destroyed by the judge. So that is the how we arranged it. And that is an achievement. Because in the old days, and in many states still, the division is the other way around. There the state is the more powerful actor. The kings in the Middle Ages, the dictators as we speak, or in a country like Indonesia where half of the economy is owned by the army. Who's then the strong one? And so in these societies, administrative law helps to bring back the balance. And sometimes in OECD countries, so the rich countries, to put it that way, the state is less powerful than the market. That is one of the themes of your course. Where's the balance? Well, this is then what we talk about. And part of the arrangement is that you make concrete rules. Elevators should not drop down when you are in it with 8 people. And so, when you take the elevator here, there's a little warning, 12 people. But if there are 13, you do not drop down that. Because you cannot accept or you cannot expect from consumers that they count all heads, that there's a little democratic process going on in the elevator, that they remove the 13th participant to save their life. Normally, elevator people are like this. So there's a margin of appreciation, so you can have 15 people, I guess. And that is translated to rules. Rules of how thick the cable should be, and how strong the wheels should be in the motor, and so forth. Or that there should not be bacteria, facial streptococci, or cocci, poop in your water. Or that you're not, in terms of market behavior, may refuse a reservation for a flight of a person with mobility issues, wheelchairs. Or, very concretely, the 1 milligram cigarette, or nicotine in a cigarette example we each time choose. So, let's go back to the drawing and see whether we are completely clear with the legal norms. So in chapter 2, public choices, there the full 9 yards of the 5 C's apply. So in chapter 2, you can apply rules for products, but also rules for competition, incentives with taxation, competition, communication to inform the public, the consensus, and the code. So those are, in general, tools that might help in terms of the intervention in the broad sense. How, in general, could we fix